Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dawson McNaul, joined by my friends Scotty, Carr, and Jace Beery, and this is On the Clock. Our first subject of the show is the Bengals versus Steelers game. Scotty, what do you got?
To start week one, the Bengals hosted the Steelers. Bengals, coming off of an AFC Championship victory, began their first drive throwing a pick six, which was just one of 4 interceptions from Burrow, while also being sacked a total of 7 times to open the season. The Pittsburgh Steelers couldn't seem to find their run game at all, but that was filled in by the passing game, with Deontay Johnson hauling in 7 receptions for 55 yards and Pat Freiermuth with 5 receptions for 75 yards. The Steelers sent the game into OT by blocking the extra point attempt from the Bengals. This game did not disappoint with a missed field goal by each team in overtime. Then, to finally end the game, Steelers kicker Chris Boswell hit a 53-yard field goal to win the game and send the Steelers packing to a 23-20 overtime win to open the season. Now on, Eagles versus Lions.
As the Eagles took on the Lions at Ford Field, Hurts only started 0 for 4 on his first drive. He started to complete passes the next few drives and ended up scoring his own touchdown, a 1-yard rushing touchdown. As each team's run was very good the whole game, the Detroit run game had a total of 172 yards and 3 touchdowns between Williams and Swift. The Eagles led the game since the second quarter and kept it till it was 38-35. Now on to the Colts and Texans.
The Colts and Texans had our first tie of the season with a score of 20-20. Matt Ryan was 32 for 50 with 352 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Jonathan Taylor added 161 rushing yards and a touchdown. Pittman snagged 9 receptions for 121 yards. On the Texans side of the ball, Davis Mills threw for 240 yards on 37 attempts with 2 touchdowns. The running back duo was great for the Texans. Rex had 14 carries for 40, and Pierce had 11 for 33. Brandon Cook snagged 7 balls for 82 receiving yards. He also spread the ball well amongst his other receivers. Next up, we have the Chiefs game. The Chiefs took on the Cardinals in Arizona with a final score of 44-21. Scotty, what were your thoughts on the game?
Mahomes came out flying this first game of the season, proved that he can spread the ball, with a total of 9 receivers touching the ball that game and him throwing 5 passing touchdowns.
Jace, what were your thoughts on the running backs?
The running backs all did good. They were all run the ball very well. I think they each had like an average of like 6 to 7 yards per carry. I think they had like a couple of cut touchdowns each. They all did really good.
Yeah, Mahomes had 5 touchdowns. I think he's my best Week 1 performance, beating out my MVP, Justin Herbert. Next up, we have our standout players. Scotty first with Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley coming off of 2 seasons worth of injuries with 18 rushes for 164 yards and a touchdown, hauling in 6 receptions for 30 yards. Saquon coming off of his first Week 1 start in a while.
Here's Jace with Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas had his first game this past Sunday in nearly 2 years. Thomas reeled in 5 catches for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the 27-26 win against Atlanta Falcons at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. First catch did not come till 11:58 mark in the third quarter. Although it was his first game back in almost 2 years, I thought he did really good and had a couple good catches.
My standout player this week is Justin Herbert. He was 26 for 34, 279 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Led them to a win over the Raiders. Sorry, Uncle Nathan, Raiders kind of stink, but...
Are you looking for a restaurant for a relaxing Friday night? Then I would like to introduce you to Happy House. What makes Happy House special is that you can watch the chef prepare your meal, just choose your meat, seafood, vegetables, and watch as the chef prepares your dish fresh and juicy right before your eyes. If this has convinced you, then come to Happy House at 202 East Silknitter Street at Rose Hill now and enjoy your meal.
To open up our college portion of today's show, we have Kansas State versus Missouri. I was on site to watch the slaughter of Mizzou. K-State won 40-12. Deuce Vaughn had 24 rushes, 145 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He also had a catch for 4 yards. Malik Knowles had 2 receptions for 26 yards, and Brooks had 3 receptions, 57 yards, and a punt return touchdown. Adrian Martinez played solid, going 9 of 20 for 101 yards and 13 rushes for 52 yards. Daniel Green had 6 tackles and 1 pick for one of our 4 picks on defense. Mizzou had Brady Cook 15 for 27 with 128 yards and 2 picks. He also had 13 rushing attempts for 56 yards. Now on to Jace with the KU West Virginia game.
KU attending West Virginia. Kansas visited West Virginia Saturday night. West Virginia was favored 14 points over KU. As West Virginia's quarterback JT Daniels started strong with a 59-yard bomb to Sam James for a 7-0 lead. JT Daniels ended up with 355 passing yards. As on the KU side, KU's Jalen Daniels answered a few drives later with a touchdown, then goes on to score 21 unanswered points later in the game. As the game goes into overtime, KU scores a touchdown, then picks off JT Daniels to win the game 55-42.
Now to Scotty with Bama versus Texas.
Alabama versus Texas wasn't slated to be as great of a game as it turned out to be. Despite Texas only being able to find the end zone once and Alabama only twice, the game was very competitive. This match was very back and forth with defenses making big stops. Even with starting quarterback Quinn Ewers coming out of the game with a hurt collarbone, Hudson Card came into the game and executed while going 14 for 22 with 158 passing yards. On the other side of the ball, Bryce Young was having a down game by his standards, while only throwing for 213 yards with 1 touchdown. Going into the fourth quarter, Texas hit a 24-yard field goal to go up 16-10 over the Crimson Tide. The Tide answered back with a touchdown reception by Jahmyr Gibbs to put them up 1 with 8 minutes left in the game. Texas puts a kick through the uprights to make the score 19-17. Alabama then drives down the field for Will Reichard to hit a 33-yard game-winning field goal to send the Texas hopes down the dream and stay undefeated on the season for the Tide.
Other pet services. You can find them at 110 North Rose Hill Road. They are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays and closed on Saturdays and Sundays. You can contact them at 316-776-0040. They are locally owned and have been in business since 1982.
Rocket Cross Country was at Wamego this weekend. Kimberlin and Elliott medaled. The team took 9th overall.
Soccer took on Garden City Saturday morning. The soccer team ended up losing 4-3 in a hard-fought battle between both teams.
After an 0-2 start, the Rockets will face Clearwater at home this Friday.
The Lady Rockets are hosting McPherson and Augusta tomorrow.
Thank you for watching On the Clock. I'm Dawson McNaul, Scotty Carr, and Jace Beery. We'll see you next Monday.